Hey, what's going on? How y'all doing? Welcome to the latest edition of the DFS Sweatshop. I'm your host, the DFS Jerusalem, and you can follow me on Twitter at DFS Jerusalem. Of course, we're going to be talking a lot of NFL today. Just closed out the week. The Monday night game just played, and it was the Jets taking on the Cardinals, and the Jets quietly and calmly got their ass whipped and their helmets handed to them. We saw a few quarterbacks play tonight, but we're not going to go too far into that game. We knew what David Johnson is capable of doing. We knew what he did. We got him in our lineups. What I wanted to do was go ahead and review a little bit of Week 6 with you. Just give you my best lineup. We all got this lineup. Everyone's got that lineup that you should have put everywhere. You should have put all your money on it. It was the best that you could come up with. But you put in so many lineups that it kind of canceled them out. That's kind of was the story for me this week. But so we're gonna start with it, and I'll just give you my reasoning behind uh, this lineup in particular. I had it in a few spots, and I really felt good about it. We talked my last video about a few of these plays. Some of them worked out for me, and looking at the construction of the lineup, had I been correct about some of the theories I had going into Week 6, I would have cashed pretty heavy, a lot heavier than I did actually. But let's take a look. At quarterback, we had Marcus Mariota first. Now Marcus Mariota had a 9.4 ownership percentage, which was fairly low for the quarterbacks that we looked at going into it. Uh, Taking on the Cleveland Browns. I am a big fan of stacking whoever plays against the Browns, which I'm going to be doing this week. We'll talk about that in a few moments once we get into the point totals for the week and the matchups. Okay, so I really liked Mariota going up against the Cleveland Browns. Um, I really didn't have a stack, a wide receiver or a tight end stack to go with him, so I just put DeMarco Murray with him, thinking, hey, I'm going to stay with the field. DeMarco Murray is going to be the chalk. I think he's going to be catching some passes out of the backfield, but he ended up having one rushing touchdown and 65 yards on the ground. A very underwhelming performance for DeMarco Murray for me that day. Now, I didn't go with the correlation stack. I didn't like anybody from the Cleveland side. I'm still not a believer in in Pryor the way some folks are. And but he continues to produce, but he's questionable with injury right now. But we'll talk about later too. My top play for the week, and I told everyone about this. It was Odell Beckham Jr. I loved Odell Beckham Jr. this week. I thought this was going to be a week he can be able to silence some of the critics and actually go out and perform well. He did that to the tune of 222 yards receiving, uh, 8 receptions, and of course he got the 100-yard bonus, of course, and 2 touchdowns. Now they were deep plays. One was a busted coverage, but he still performed. I called it. I knew that was going to happen. I also had Larry Donnell. Now he was coming in at 0.1% owned. Now let's go back because Odell Beckham, his price and the way he had been playing had him so suppressed that he was 4.9% owned in the GPP. This is the $3 GPP on DraftKings, the big $3 one. Uh, I like Tavon Austin going through, and see, this is the funny thing about DFS. Most of us are smart. Most of us who put this much time and this much effort into daily fantasy, we're on the right track. A lot of times you're on the right track. With this game, with this player in particular, Tavon Austin, I was on the right track. I was on the right track. But as one of my colleagues mentioned to me, the obvious play in this game, if you're going to take a wide receiver from this game, with so much of the attention in the DFS world being thrown Tavon Austin's way, it was Kenny Britt. It was Kenny Britt. He's the most accomplished, steady receiver in that receiving core. He was a good play, and he went off. He went all the way off this week. So I missed on the. I was on the right track, but I missed with the Tavon Austin pick. Cameron Meredith, he was a really good play, but he was chalky. 30% owned in this particular GPP. He finished with 11 receptions, 113 yards. Did not get in the end zone, but he got the 100-yard bonus. He ended up scoring 25.3 DraftKings points. Um, now, one of the make or break plays that I really liked this week I knew if he didn't perform well, I wasn't going to finish where I wanted to, but I had to take a stab on him, and it was Todd Gurley. I really like Todd Gurley going into this game. As we can see, he was coming in at a low ownership, 8.6% owned. So as you see what I was doing, I was going with I like to do a fair mix of guys that are going to be low owned and guys that are going to be high owned. That's going to keep me with the rest of the field. And that's what LaShawn McCoy did at 39.8% owned. He was the chalk for the game. He finished with 3 touchdowns, 140 rushing yards, the 100-yard bonus, 2 receptions for two reception yards. Now, LaShawn McCoy had a great game, and his ownership really saw a spike from what he did the previous week, and I imagine it's going to continue going forward, even though he's been priced up quite a bit. But we're going to talk about that once we move into, of course, the point totals. Um, my defense, since I really didn't have a wide receiver stack that I really like with to pair with Mariota and DeMarco Murray, a lot of times when you like a running back and you think they're going to perform really well, their defense is going to be a good play because they're going to eat up clock. They're going to be on the field a lot. They're not going to give the opposing offense a lot of time to score points. We saw it tonight with David Johnson. Uh, they were on the field the entire game. The Cardinals were on the field the entire game. They led the game in time of possession, and a lot of that was due to David Johnson being able to run the ball. I thought that was going to happen in this game because we had 2 rushers that were really good. We've got the quarterback Marcus Mariota, as well as DeMarco Murray. Mariota has 64 rushing yards, so he was able to move the ball down the field. Now, surprisingly, Cleveland was able to score some points with them. Cleveland was able to score some points with them. Uh, Cody Kessler had a pretty good game, and that kind of, without all the sacks that I got with the Tennessee defense, let's check to see how many sacks we got. Without all the sacks that I got, and this was a 17.1% owned defense. I got 6 sacks, so I got the 6 points. Even though they scored that many points, Cleveland put points on the board. I was able to come away with 6 points because of the 6 sacks that we saw there. Now, and one of those could have easily been a fumble, scoop and score, take it to the house. This was. Let me tell you, this lineup. This was one of my favorite lineups, and it could have really made some noise. It really could have made some noise because a lot of us were not on the Odell Beckham Jr. pick even after we discussed it in my last podcast right before lock. And a lot of folks still, I don't understand why LaShawn McCoy wasn't even higher on. I mean, going into this game, you knew he was going to catch wreck. You knew he did. But enough of that. Enough of what could have been. We're moving on to week 7. First things first, let's discuss the buys this week. We've got Carolina on bye, and we've got the Dallas Cowboys on bye. So no worrying about Cam Newton and who he's going to throw the ball to this week. Sorry, no Zeke Elliott this week. Isn't he something special, man? Wow. Him and Dak Prescott, Cole Beasley have really turned Dallas around. I believe they're 5-1 going into their bye. Now, the first game we're going to talk about is a Thursday night game. It is the Green Bay Packers at home, giving up 9 points to the Chicago Bears. It is a 46.5 point total. Uh, Aaron Rodgers has not been playing very well recently. He actually cost me in my main lineups because I had him a lot. I had him and Randall Cobb. I had him a lot. When the news broke about Randall Cobb, maybe seeing some running back snaps, I was all over it. Like many of us were, the sharper players, we were all over it. But that really didn't give us the dividends that we set out to receive. But it's okay. It's okay. Now coming into this game, uh, who's going to run the ball for Green Bay? Are we going to see a healthy Eddie Lacy? Is there going to be some Ripkowski love there? We know that Starks are going to be out 4 to 6 weeks, so that's going to lead us to believe that at home, Green Bay is going to be relying heavily on the pass. I like quarterbacks at home. I like Aaron Rodgers anytime coming off of a loss. So this is definitely a game that's going to get some consideration. The only knock on this game, and I talk about this every week, is that it is a Thursday night game, and you have to jump into one of those Thursday night slates in order to have Aaron Rodgers on your roster, and he's coming in at 7,100. He is the fourth uh, highest priced quarterback on the list, following as Tom Brady, Drew Brees, Matt Ryan, and then Aaron Rodgers, followed by Andrew Luck. So I kind of like Green Bay in this game, even giving up the 9 points. They they were the league's number one rushing defense heading into Week 6. I don't know how much that was affected by the way Ezekiel Elliott gashed them, but we knew that was suspect from the beginning. We knew that Green Bay wasn't a top flight run defense. It's just teams had not uh, been in situations to run the ball right against them. So at Chicago here, are we going to keep going with Hoyer? I was wrong about him. I got off of Hoyer last week. He still had a really good game, threw for I think over 300 yards. Uh, Jordan Howard is still running well. He underperformed. If a guy in his situation can underperform, he underperformed this week. But Meredith picked up the slack, and we talked about that already. The next game we're going to talk about is my New York Football Giants giving up 3 to the Los Angeles Rams. There is no home team in this game. This game's gonna be played in London at 9:30. Isn't that awesome? We get 9:30. I get to wake up Sunday morning, and the first thing I get to see, not only is it football, but it is my New York Football Giants. So I am gonna have some shares in this game. It's probably gonna be a sloppy game. These players are coming off a long flight. They're gonna be ready to get off the field. I think there's gonna be some mistakes on defense. Gonna be some scoring. I do like Odell Beckham again. We saw what Matt Stafford and Golden Tate, who I told y'all about. I told you about it. I told you about it. We saw what Matt Stafford and Golden Tate were able to do against this Rams defense. I like uh, I like New York in this game, and this has got to be a girly week. This has got to be a girly week. If there's one thing you could do against the New York Giants, you can run the ball against us. So I like Gurley this week. Um, Somebody's gonna have to catch the ball. So Kenny Britt, of course, is gonna be in play. Tavon's gonna be in play. Our special teams is suspect. Our punt coverage is suspect. So I think you could get away with rostering the Los Angeles defense, because I don't see the game being completely high scoring. I won't be taking Odell Beckham in this game. If I'm gonna take anybody in this game, um, it's going to be more so Los Angeles players if I'm going to go anywhere in this game. The next game I'm going to talk about is the Minnesota Vikings at Philadelphia, giving up 2.5. It is a 40-point total. This is a very low point total, which kind of is a red flag to me. I won't be too involved in this game unless it's on the defensive side of the ball. If I like Minnesota defense or if I like Philadelphia defense, the point total is so low. And let's keep in mind, we're getting into a point of the season where a lot of things are being looked at. Vegas has they get a better read on the point totals as the season goes on, and we saw that in the beginning of the season when you would look at, damn, how did Vegas think of this point total? And the Thursday night game, the Jets and the I think it was the Buffalo Bills, it was like a 47-point total, but they ended up scoring 63 points. So that was then. This is now. We can trust as the weeks progress. We're going to be able to trust these Vegas lines more and more. So I like this to be a low-scoring game. I don't think I'll be touching anyone in this game unless it's a running back or a defense or the correlation of both, the running back with the defense. Actually, I like Jarrett McKinnon in this game. And if I like Jarrett McKinnon and I'm right about that, I'm going to like the Minnesota defense. Okay? I'm not going to be rostering anybody against the Minnesota defense. So that would be where I would go in this game. The next game we're going to talk about is going to be the the Kansas City Chiefs at home against the New Orleans Saints. We already know Drew Brees on the road. Don't touch him. Do not touch him on the road. I won't be rostering Drew Brees. I made the mistake of not rostering him last week. I'm going to continue that. I'm not going to roster him this week. I'm not going to do that. The Kansas City Chiefs. Now we learned something about the New Orleans Saints a few weeks ago in Atlanta. We learned that you can run the ball against them. And let's look at this backfield. Now, what I did in one of my lineups this week, a few of them, I really liked Charles and Ware, and I think they combined to really help me out and help me cash in some of these lineups. I'm gonna go back to get the let's check it out. complete lineup. Yeah, this is my one of my Russell Wilson stacks. I had Russell Wilson, Tyler Lockett, Jimmy Graham, Golden Tate in this lineup, and I started Jamal Charles and Spencer Ware. Spencer Ware was 1% owned. Jamal Charles was 8% owned. I don't think we're going to see too much difference. We may see a small increase in ownership for for Charles, but I really think Ware is still going to go under owned, under 5% owned, maybe five five, no more than 8% owned. No more than 8% owned. I like starting this complete backfield against the New Orleans Saints because we saw the Saints allowed 1 week they allowed a running back 1 and 2. Tevin Coleman and Freeman were the best running backs in the league that week against the New Orleans Saints, and I think that trend can continue. So you're going to see that in a lot of my lineups. You're going to see the pairing of Spencer Ware and Jamal Charles. Uh, I don't like Alex Smith this week. He's probably going to be a hot commodity going up against that New Orleans defense. I don't like him. I think that this is a week where I can pay up a little bit more for quarterback. I really think I can pay up a little bit more for quarterback this week. We look at the price on we look at the price on him, and he gets a spike just because he's playing against the Saints. 6,100. I think I can do a little better in that same area with a more sure bet. I actually like Andy Dalton a lot this week. We're gonna get to talk about that because I'm rostering cats against Cleveland. I'm just gonna do it. I like to stack it against Cleveland. At some point, Cleveland's gonna get up the highest point total of the year, and I like them to do that sometime soon, actually. So this game is not something I'm gonna be touching a lot of. I like the running backs from the Kansas City side. I do not like Kansas City defense going against the New Orleans Saints because they can score when prompted. This is a 50-point total with a minus 6.5 going to the direction of the Kansas City Chiefs. And the next game we're going to talk about is a 1 o'clock game. It is at Detroit. The Lions are -1 against the Washington Redskins. I think this game has shootout all over it. I like both quarterbacks in this game. Uh, I love Matt Jones to rush against that Detroit defensive line. I think this is a Deshaun Jackson game. I really think this is a Deshaun Jackson game. He's going to be one of the plays that I'm going to be on this week. I like Golden Tate. I like Marvin Jones more. I hope that Golden Tate's game kind of shifts the focus more towards his way and takes some of it off of Marvin Jones. I like Marvin Jones this week in this play. Uh, not touching either defense. We're gonna have to wait to find out some news on Jordan Reed. And how about the old man catching a touchdown? Vernon Davis getting involved. All right, that was pretty cool to watch. The next game we're gonna talk about. This is my favorite game of the week. This is the game I'm gonna be hanging my hat on a lot because the point total is pretty decent. To give up this many points in a game, the point total is pretty decent. The Cincinnati Bengals, this is the fight for Ohio. The Cincinnati Bengals at home, giving up 9.5 to the Cleveland Browns in a 45.5 point total. Now, let's look at this. Let's look at this. There's two ways we can go about attacking this game. Now, we can respect what Vegas is saying. Cleveland going to lose by 10, right? But they're going to be putting up points. Now, we know Terrell Pryor is a possibility he may not play. Cody Kessler has been playing well. We've got Andrew Hawkins there. There may be a few spots where we can get some good points at a low price. So keep an eye on the Cleveland situation to see what they're going to be doing. This is essentially a home game. It's the Cleveland Browns and the Cincinnati Bengals. So it doesn't really take as much effect as it will in other games. But my favorite play from this game is going to be Andy Dalton. He is my quarterback one this week. When we talk about where value meets performance, he is my quarterback number one this week. I also love Giovanni Bernard and I like AJ Green. I'm going to be stacking that. I'm going to be stacking that in a lot of different spots because with a stack like that, where I've got Giovanni Bernard at 48K on DraftKings, I've got Andy Dalton coming in at 6K on DraftKings, and I've got AJ Green coming, I believe, at 8,600. I mean, that's going to give me a ton of room to work with. That's going to give me all the help I need in other spots to go ahead and make up the difference and stay with the field with chalk plays that I know everybody's going to be on. If this isn't the chalk play that everybody's going to be on. So I really like this game. I like Cincinnati's offense in this game. The next game we're going to talk about the Buffalo Bills. They are -3 at the Miami Dolphins. This is a 44.5 point total. We already know the chalk is going to be LaShawn McCoy. They're going to be all over him. I think I'm fading him this week. That's a little too pricey for me. That's too much to put up. And I like a couple of lower price backs. Like I said, I like the Kansas City backfield. I just told you I'm in love with Giovanni Bernard this week. I even like a little Jeremy Hill here and there. So I think I'm going to be paying down a bit for running back and then paying up in the wide receiver spots. But we're going to talk about that too as we get to it. Now, little news out of Miami. Jarvis Landry looks really good. Devontae Parker, he is somebody who can give us something. And uh, we got to keep an eye out on the Buffalo side of the ball at tight end. Charles Clay was somebody that I had been looking at prior to the beginning of this week, right before the podcast, and he's come up questionable with an injury. So we've got to keep our eyes out for him. Now, as far as the quarterbacks goes, Tannehill has picked up his play. I really think beating Pittsburgh soundly the way they did yesterday is really going to boost his confidence. And this Buffalo defense is playing well, but a lot of it is due to the fact that they've been able to rush the ball. And I'm not sure that we're going to see that same rushing attack from Deshaun McCoy. He did kind of get hobbled in Sunday's game, so we might want to keep an eye on that as the week progresses. Tyrod Taylor is going to be I got him as a low end QB2. He's somebody that you can look to if you're trying to pay up in other spots, because you could use him maybe if you're gonna play LaShawn McCoy. I don't think the 2 receptions for 2 yards is something that's going to continue. LaShawn McCoy is a back that can easily catch the ball out of the backfield, so I think you can look at him catching more passes this week. Now, the next game we're going to talk about is going to be the Jacksonville Jaguars at home, giving up 1.5 to the Oakland Raiders. I think this game could have tons of fantasy goodness in it, especially coming from the Oakland side of the ball, where we may be getting back Latavius Murray. You've got to like Amari Cooper. His ownership is going to go up a little bit, so that may lead some of us to pivot and save a little money with Michael Crabtree. I like Derek Carr in this game. I believe Carr's coming in as the 10th 10th ranked or 10th priced quarterback on DK at 6,300. We've got 7,600 for Amari Cooper, 6,600 for Crabtree. So this is a game that we definitely can get some use out of. I like Allen Hurts in this game. A Rob, he's definitely due for one. If you just want a touchdown, a guaranteed touchdown, I like Allen Robinson a lot this week. As far as running the ball on the Jacksonville side, I would go Ivory before I would go Yeldon. That's just me. I would like to save there. I believe Ivory's 3,900. That's as close to minimum as you can get as far as a running back that we're gonna know are gonna get some touches and some goal line work. The next game is gonna be the Tennessee Titans at home against the Indianapolis Colts. This is a 49 point total. Now have you noticed so far? We've got the 48.5, 46, 49, 45, 50. Like, they're getting sharper. These point totals are not as low as they were in the beginning of the season, and they're just exceeding. Teams are just exceeding the point totals. These point totals are getting sharper, so we can pay as much attention as we can to the Vegas lines as we start our lineup construction. Back to the game. Tennessee Titans against Indianapolis Colts. I like Mariota again. I think we're going to see a bounce back game from DeMarco Murray this week against that soft Indianapolis rush defense. I even like Luck in this game. Tennessee defense is not going to be one I'm going to be touching too much this week. I like Luck in this game. He is a I believe he's the 5th quarterback ranked this week, 7,000. That's a little pricey, but I mean, for what luck can give you, I think he's worth taking a shot on as well. We still got no Dante Moncrief, so we're gonna see a lot of maybe Jack Doyle's gonna be in this game. We need to keep our eyes on Dwayne Allen and see what his injury progress with the injury is going to be throughout the week. Next game is going to be the Jets and the Baltimore Ravens. This game is going to be in New York. The Jets are home. It's a pick 'em. So that means these teams are equally bad, so to speak. We saw the end of the Jets game. We're going to have to pay attention to that throughout the week because if they start Geno, I'm taking Baltimore defense everywhere. This dude is just not good at quarterback in the NFL. He's just not good. I don't care. He's not good. So we want to keep our eyes on that. Now, we don't know if he was benched. We're speaking of Fitzmagic. We don't know exactly if he was benched or if the game was so far out of reach. There's no need to get that guy hurt who you gave all the money to. So, but I'm sure it's New York. News is going to come out. We're going to know very soon what the situation is at quarterback for the New York Jets. Baltimore Ravens side of the ball. Terrence West, he was really able to get in on my Giants. If you paid attention to the last video we did talk about Terrence West. I believe he rushed for 2 touchdowns, maybe 88 yards, something like that. He had a really good game against the Giants because, like I said, if there's one thing you could do against us, you can run the ball against us. That's why I think it's a girly week. It's finally a girly week. Oh, it's here. It's a girly week. Everybody's been waiting. I know you've been waiting in your season longs. I know you've been waiting in your dailies. This is finally a girly week, and it's going to be against the Giants. Whatever. I'm a Giants man. I'm a Giants fan. But when it comes down to getting this money, get this DFS money, I ain't no fool. And I like girly this week. You should too. So the next game we're going to talk about is going to be, this is probably going to be the most uh, um, touched game of the week. For number one, it's the highest point total of the week. Number two, we've got two quarterbacks that are on an incline. In the Atlanta Falcons at home, giving up 6.5 to the San Diego Chargers. This is a 52.5 point total. So that's a lot of points. That is a lot of points that Vegas is projecting. So I am going to have shares of this game. I'm definitely going to have shares of this game. I'm not going to hang my hat on this game the way I am on the Cincinnati Cleveland game, but I am going to have shares of this game. And I think the way to attack it is on a secondary approach. I'm not going to go Julio. I'm not going to go uh, uh, Philip Rivers. I'm not going to go Travis Benjamin. I like I like Sanu in this game. I like Melvin Gordon in this game. I like both of the Atlanta running backs. Most notably, I like Tevin Coleman in this game. That is where I'm gonna hit him at. I like Hunter Henry in this game. I'm not gonna go for the gusto by just paying up, getting as many of these cats in this game as I can. But I am gonna I mean I'm gonna correlate. I'm gonna be looking and if I'm gonna have one guy that I really like, maybe Tyrell Williams at that really depressed price, maybe Dontrell Inman at that really depressed price. I like Sanu. I think Julio is a bit too much to pay up for on this week where we can get some really good value at lesser price. But this game is going to be a really, really, really hot area for DFS players this week. A lot of guys are going to be in this game. So if that 52 point total isn't right and exact, it's going to hurt a lot of people. And I'm not willing to throw 92K in there, excuse me, 9.2K in there on Julio Jones, and then we have a 45 point total, 40 point total, and the other guy Sanu goes off. You know what I mean? But I'm willing to throw a little 40 of 4.4K in there on Sanu, see what kind of return I can get from that. Okay. Next, we're going to go to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, giving up 2 to the San Francisco 49ers. It is a 47.5 total, which is really nice. This is a respectable point total. This is a game we've got to pay attention to. Okay, see, you look at the other games with the higher point totals. You look at the let's go back to the Atlanta and the San Diego game. It's a 52 point total, but there's a touchdown spread. That's a lot of points. A touchdown spread. So that's telling me that I have to pick which side is going to go off because it's a lopsided victory, lopsided defeat. But this Tampa game is a -2. That's like less than a field goal's difference, and it's a 47-point total. So that means both of these teams are going to be scoring. Who do we like? I like a lot in this game. I like Mike Evans. I like Jameis Winston. At his depressed price coming off a bye, I like Jameis Winston. Colin Kaepernick, he played well, pretty much, against Buffalo for his first game back. I think he deserves some consideration. Carlos Hyde, we can run the ball against Tampa Bay. I like Carlos Hyde in this game. Jacquizz Rodgers, he's for the cheap. And we still don't know if Doug Martin's going to be back this week. That's something that we got to pay attention to and keep our eyes on as well. So there's a lot of hidden love in this game, a lot of hidden fantasy love in this game, and we need to make some fantasy love here in the sweatshop. Ooh, I like how I did that. Next game's going to be the New England Patriots giving up 7.5 at Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh's going to be at home. They get a home bonus for me. Anytime you get the Pittsburgh Steelers at home, such a rabid fan base, they're going to get a home bonus from me. There's a 45.5 uh, total. I'm not touching it. I don't like anybody because with Landry Jones at quarterback, we know Ben Roethlisberger's going to be out maybe 4 to 6 weeks with the torn meniscus. I don't like and I got Antonio in my season long, and this same thing happened to me last year when Landry Jones. I mean, he saw I believe it was a 7 point decrease per game, um, with Landry Jones at under center. So I'm not touching Antonio at all. I didn't touch him last week. Uh, I threw him in a couple lineups. I threw him in a couple lineups. Some stuff that I made, But I mean, I'm not touching this week at 9,300. I believe that's just way too rich for my blood. I'm not gonna throw 9,300 in there on a bad matchup without the starting QB against Belichick. I learned my lesson earlier this year. I'm not going against Belichick, so I'm done with that one. I like Tom Brady a lot in this game. I also like James White out of the backfield, but I think this is gonna be a bruiser game because the way you run up on the Pittsburgh Steelers is you hit them in the mouth. The smash mouth team at home, you silence the crowd with the run. So I think this is going to be a LeGarrette Blunt game. I like LeGarrette Blunt. I like Julian Edelman in this game. I will never roster Gronk. I just won't. That's just something. That's just a rule I have. I'm not paying. I'm not paying 7,200 for a tight end. I'm not doing it. There's too much value everywhere else. There's no sense to me in ever rostering Gronk or Jordan Reed. It doesn't make sense to me. All right. The next game I'm going to talk about is going to be the Arizona Cardinals at home against Seattle. They just beat the snot out of the Jets, so I know they're going to be getting that mojo back. This is a night game, so there can be some hammers in here that you may want to use. Both teams are so defensively sound that I'm not sure I want to go too deep into this game. Maybe I might like Lockett or something in this game because I liked them last week, and you got to do this in DFS. Say you get an urge to really like somebody in the roster, you like them. Like I Golden Tate, I like Golden Tate, I like Golden Tate, I like Golden Tate. Now, if I had gotten off of Golden Tate, I liked him 3 weeks ago, and I played him steadily for those 2 weeks when he got 6 points, 8 points. And if I had gotten off of him this week, man, how pissed would I have been? He goes out and he puts up 33. That's how I feel about uh, Tyler Lockett. He's somebody who I really like. So you're gonna see a little bit of Tyler Lockett in my lineups. This is a -1. Uh, Arizona's giving up 1 point. It's a 43.5 point total. And there's some good stuff in here. How about that Julio getting jerked on that pass interference call? What the heck was that, bro? They were draped on him, man. They were all over him, bro. And it was sad that they didn't call that. So, but it's NFL officiating. It hasn't gotten any better over the last few years. It probably won't. All right, the last game we're going to discuss on this slate is the Denver Broncos at home -7 against the Houston Texans, a 41.5 point total. I don't roster people against the Denver Broncos defense. I just don't. If you want to take your chances on Lamar Miller, you're more than welcome to. I kind of like CJ Anderson in this game. Uh, I was on him last week. Didn't work out so well for me, but it was a Thursday night game, I believe. I had him. So they're coming off a ton of rest. That's damn near a bye week for how long the Denver Broncos have gone without playing. So I kind of like C.J. Anderson this week. Don't like either of the quarterbacks in this game. What we got to do to get Nuke to get on the same page with Osweiler and really make it work? I don't know, man. But this has been your first look at the NFL Week 7 DraftKings DFS. I, again, am your DFS Jerusalem. You can follow me on Twitter at DFS Jerusalem. Stay tuned throughout the week. We're going to be doing our weekly 5 wide feature where we talk about 5 wide receivers that we really like. We're going to talk about some running backs that we really like in the next podcast. Thank you. Thank you for stepping into the sweatshop with me. You have a great week, and I'll see you next time.